All that had happened after he was stunned, Bilbo learned from Gandalf. The eagles had long had suspicion of the goblins' mustering, so they too had gathered in great numbers under the great eagle of the misty mountains, and at length, smelling battle from afar, they had come speeding down the gale in the nick of time. They it was who dislodged the goblins from the mountain slopes, casting them over precipices or driving them down shrieking and bewildered among their foes. But even with the eagles they were still outnumbered. In that last hour Beorn himself had appeared. No one knew how or from where. He came alone and in bear's shape, and he seemed to have grown almost to giant size in his wrath. The roar of his voice was like drums and guns, and he tossed wolves and goblins from his path like straws and feathers. He fell upon their rear, and broke like a clap of thunder through the ring, and lifted Thorin, who had fallen pierced with spears, and bore him out of the fray. The goblins fled in all directions. Victory had been assured before the fall of night, but the pursuit was still on foot when Bilbo returned to the camp. And not many were in the valley, save the more grievously wounded. They buried Thorin deep beneath the mountain, and Bard laid the Arkenstone upon his breast. "There let it lie till the mountain falls," he said. "May it bring good fortune to all his folk that dwell hereafter." Upon his tomb, the Elven King then laid Orcrist. A 14th share of all the silver and gold, wrought and unwrought, was given up to Bard. For Dane said, "We will honor the agreement of the dead." And he has now the Arkenstone in his keeping. From that treasure, Bard sent much gold to the master of Lake Town, and he rewarded his followers and friends freely. To the Elven King he gave the emeralds of Girion, such jewels as he loved most, which Dane had restored to him. To Bilbo he said, "This treasure is as much yours as it is mine. I should wish that the words of Thorin, of which he repented, should not prove true, that we should give you little. I would reward you most richly of all." Very kind of you," said Bilbo, "but how on earth should I get all that treasure home without war and murder all along the way?" In the end, he would take only 2 small chests, one filled with silver and the other with gold, such as one strong pony could carry. "That will be quite as much as I can manage," said he. He went at last to say goodbye to his friends. "Farewell, Balin," he said, "and farewell, Dwalin, and farewell, Dori, Nori, Ori, Owen, Glowin, Boifer, Bofer, and Bomber. May your beards never grow thin." And turning towards the mountain, he added, "Farewell, Thorin Oakenshield, and Fili, and Kili. May your memory never fade." The dwarves bowed low before their gate, but words stuck in their throats. "Goodbye and good luck, wherever you fare," said Balin at last. "If ever you visit us again, when our halls are made fair once more, then the feast shall indeed be splendid." "If ever you are passing my way," said Bilbo, "don't wait to knock. Tea is at 4, but any of you are welcome at any time." Then he turned away. Gandalf and Bilbo rode behind the Elven King, and beside them strode Beorn, once again in man's shape, and he laughed and sang in a loud voice upon the road. So they went on until they drew near to the borders of Mirkwood. "Farewell, O Elven King," said Gandalf. "Merry be the greenwood while the world is yet young, and merry be all your folk." "Farewell, Gandalf," said the king. "May you ever appear where you are most needed and least expected. The oftener you appear in my halls, the better I shall be pleased." "I beg of you," said Bilbo, stammering and standing on one foot, "to accept this gift." And he brought out a necklace of silver and pearls that Dane had given him at their parting. "In what way have I earned such a gift, O Hobbit?" said the king. "Well, I thought, didn't you know," said Bilbo, rather confused, "that some little return should be made for your hospitality. I mean, even a burglar has his feelings." I have drunk much of your wine and eaten much of your bread. I will take your gift, O Bilbo the Magnificent, said the king gravely, and I name you elf friend and blessed. May your shadow never grow less, or stealing would be too easy. Farewell. Then the elves turned towards the forest, and Bilbo started on his long road home. By midwinter, Gandalf and Bilbo had come all the way back, along both edges of the forest, to the doors of Beorn's house. And there for a while they both stayed. Yuletide was warm and merry there, and men came from far and wide to feast at Beorn's bidding. When it was spring, and a fair one with mild weathers and a bright sun, Bilbo and Gandalf took their leave at last of Beorn. So comes snow after fire, and even dragons have their ending, said Bilbo, and he turned his back on his adventure. The Tookish part was getting very tired, and the Baggins was daily getting stronger. I wish now only to be in my own armchair. As all things come to an end, even this story, a day came at last when they were in sight of the country where Bilbo had been born and bred, where the shapes of the land and of the trees were as well known to him as his hands and toes. Coming to a rise, he could see his own hill in the distance, and he stopped suddenly and said, Roads go ever, ever on, over rock and under tree, by caves where never sun has shone, by streams that never find the sea, over snow by winter sown, and through the merry flowers of June, over grass and over stone, and under mountains in the moon. Roads go ever, ever on, under cloud and under star, yet feet that wandering have gone turn at last to home afar. Eyes that fire and sword have seen, and horror in the halls of stone, look at last on meadows green, and trees and hills they long have known. Gandalf looked at him. My dear Bilbo, he said, something is the matter with you. You are not the hobbit that you were. They crossed the bridge and passed the mill by the river and came right back to Bilbo's own door.